Hello, everybody. Welcome to the booth. I'm about to start some warm-ups. I ordered these cool little warm-up cards that are going to be hitting the mail pretty soon. I'll be getting them in the booth. Little tongue twister cards. I'll show you guys them when I get them and do the plug for them. But they're pretty awesome. Alright, so let's just get right to this. I need to start warming up, and I've done all that crap already. It's a little caffeinated drink. But today, I just got this in the mail. So Warbots is out, written by G. Harry Stine. And I'm going to be doing all the next 11 of them at some point. I know this 2 and 3 will happen next year. And I'll kind of get into a routine after that. And hopefully they sell decently. But I've been doing some research on G. Harry Stine as an author. And he wrote a Star Trek novel. Right here. Star Trek, The Abode of Life, by Lee Correy. That was his pen name for a while. So I figured I'd just do a little dry read of The Abode of Life, Star Trek. Just to kind of get the voice box moving. Here we go. Chapter 1. May I call to your attention, Captain, that our present course takes us disturbingly near the reported gravitational turbulence reported by Federation ships in the sector of the Orion Arm? As usual, Spock was both punctilious and logically correct in his assessment of the situation. Look, I'm warming up. It's going to be rough, okay? Captain James T. Kirk turned to his first command scout and glanced at where his Vulcan first officer was looking at him from the navigation station of the bridge of the USS Enterprise. Kirk smiled. I am, Mr. Spock. May I call to your attention the fact that Starfleet Command sent the Enterprise out here to investigate and report gravitational turbulence? He looked thoughtful for a moment, then added, I was told it would be easy. Straightforward, scientific exploration missile to make up for the fact that we've seen more than our share of Klingons lately. I was present at the meeting briefing, Captain, Spock reminded him. Then why the note of caution? Kirk wanted to know. Probably, said Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy as he stepped onto the bridge from the turbolift, because our science officer needs to inject a bit of speculative hazard into a mission that's turned out to be nothing but a boring tour of a largely uncharted space. As a respite from our continual action, this R&R scientific exploration mission's driving your crew batty, Jim. I'll second that, Sulu remarked from the helm. Well, hold on, I gotta get them. Oh my. How's that? We've held the same heading now for 7 watches. Kirk smiled. His people needed the rest and relaxation they termed boredom. It had been a rough tour out on the edge of the Organian Treaty Zone. Not even a month of shore leave on Starbase 4 had eliminated his own fatigue, and he was certain the rest of the crew was no better off than he. Kirk had actually looked forward to their current mission, cruising along the inner edge of the Orion Arm, taking data. They were far from Klingons and Romulans. His crew needed the break that a purely scientific measurement and charting mission would involve. Be as it may, steady she goes, Mr. Sulu, Kirk gently told his helmsman. And don't get too lax. I might become difficult and pull an emergency phaser drill to keep you on your toes. All right, here we go. The crew would welcome it, McCoy said. Jim, I know we've had some difficult missions recently, but this crew thrives on such things. Give them a long and uneventful assignment such as this, and they'll go soft on you.
That I doubt,
the captain of the Enterprise said.
Lieutenant, Uhura, you don't seem to be bored.
Uhura removed the receiver unit from her ear and smiled at her commanding officer, a definite breach of her usual efficient bridge behavior. Actually, Captain, handling routine communications has been a welcome change. My division needs to regain its proficiency. Proficiency in handling standard normal procedures again. And do you realize I haven't had to open a hailing frequency even once since we left Starbase 4? Kirk chuckled at that, remembering the one time his comm officer almost broke under stress and complained about incessant and repeated opening of hailing frequencies.
Quite seriously, Captain, Spock persisted. We are penetrating totally unexplored space where we are not precisely certain of the shape and space caused by gravitational anomalies. The data returned by the scout ship Phoenix were quite incomplete because they did not penetrate as closely to the edge of the arm as our course had already taken us.
Kirk sensed that something was bothering Spock.
What seems to be the basis of your concern, Spock? You didn't appear to be disturbed during the mission briefing at Starbase 4. May I explain?
I had insufficient time to thoroughly study the data during that briefing, which was exactly as its name implied. As its name implied. Brief. In fact, too brief in relationship to the possible hazards we might face, Spock explained. He turned to the library computer console and called up an image of the galactic sector in which the Enterprise was currently operating. Kirk rose from his seat and came over to Spock's side to get a better view of what his science officer was trying to explain. He found that McCoy was at his side as well. Projected on the screen was the known galactic region from Mark 10D to Mark 25D. The computer image of the Enterprise was shown skirting the inner edge of the Orion Arm about 10 kiloparsecs from Starbase 4. Spock didn't bother to use the electronic cursor to point out what he was talking about. He merely used one of his long Vulcan fingers. Hello. As we already know from our extensive experience in crossing the void between the Orion Arm and the outer Perseus Arm of the galaxy, there's usually considerable gravitational turbulence at the edges of galactic spiral arms. This turbulence is analogous to that which one would use analogous to that which one would see when mixing a granular material with a liquid using a circular motion.
Analogous. But not the same. Because analogies never bear one-to-one relationship with the real universe,
Kirk pointed out. True. However, the Federation has charted the zones of maximum gravitational turbulence in the rift void between starbases 1, 10, and 11, and the outpost colonies at the edge of the Romulan Treaty Zone. The traffic consisting of both Starfleet and commercial vessels carefully avoids these zones. There is no acceptable theory concerning the gravitational turbulence on the edges of galactic arms at this time. However, I suspect that such turbulence is caused by the fact that, unlike stellar motions in the galactic arms themselves, stellar motions at the edge of the galactic arms are almost random in nature. In turn, this would produce interacting gravitational fields, which, essentially, distort the fabric of space itself. Spock turned to his captain and added, "Of course, this verbal description is extremely imprecise because of the seismic illogic of our language. I have not yet been able to formulate a logical mathematical model of this hypothesis, but I'd be happy to show you the mathematical model that I've managed to derive thus far, imprecise as it may be at this time." Kirk held up his hand.
Spare me, Spock. Let's do this again. Spare me, Spock. When it comes to field tensors and translational dynamic materials, matrices, and translational dynamic matrices, I struggled through them at the academy and understand them. But when you can get your hypotheses into such a shape that you can explain it in the imprecise words of language, it means you've got your hooks into it. I beg your pardon? Spock put in, raising an eyebrow. Raising an eyebrow. I beg your pardon? I think what the captain is trying to tell you, Spock, is that words sometimes convey a more meaningful explanation of the real world than mathematics, McCoy said with the usual cynical tone in his voice that arose when he confronted the logical Vulcan on such matters. A long time ago, I learned that mathematics will tell you only the logical consequences of your initial assumptions. And since assumptions are rarely logical, the mathematical results that come from illogical assumptions are garbage. Spock's other eyebrow went up. Shit. I can't do the other one. Doctor, I see no reason for you to insult me. I fully realize that you prefer to protect the image of your medical art as an arcane activity not subject to the logic of science. But there are some aspects of the universe quite logically predictable by means of mathematics. Otherwise, we'd be unable to navigate anywhere in space. Gentlemen, Kirk broke into what was obviously growing into another basic philosophical confrontation between his science officer and his medical officer. Shall we confine such discussions to the wardroom, please? Spock, what are you really trying to tell me? Speculate, if you have to. But specify. It came out as an order. But specify. How's that? All right. I think I'm warmed up. Thanks for hanging out with me during this bad reading of Star Trek: The Abode of Life by Lee Correy, otherwise known as G. Harry Stine. Warbot's available now on Amazon and Audible and all those fine places. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time I warm up. Yeah.